Hello, my dears, my Facebook friends. So, I'm always trying to give you a nice background to enjoy while I'm sharing with you, and today coming to you from my balcony. Some nice greenery in the background. So, I thought today, I felt a few different things to share. And one of the things I thought about was to talk about our fears around asking. Why do we have such a hard time asking for things? And I'll share some stories about me and my experience around asking. I think first I want to say that my awareness is that it's not one size fits all. When I think about asking, I think about Amanda Palmer's great TED Talk, The Art of the Ask. I may be misphrasing that. And I've been in business for 11 years, and so there's some skill that I've had to develop around asking for business or asking to connect. I make all kinds of asks all the time, some more successful than the others. And I've had to do a lot of work around that. Oh my gosh, I'm going to get super hot because I'm in the sun and it's hotter than I thought. I'm going to roll my sleeves up. Well, let's start with why. Why does it hurt to ask? Why do we feel like that? I don't know about you, but I grew up with parents who were very independence oriented, encouraging me to figure out my own way. When I didn't know how to spell a word, it was go look it up in the dictionary, right? My mom was encouraging me to make my own dentist appointments when I was 12, and I remember being terrified of it, and she's like, why is this a big deal? So there's lots of ways that I was trained to figure things out myself. And when I asked for help, not just from parents, but in general, I kind of got that message of you're not supposed to have to ask. Does that make sense? I don't know if that was a message you got while you were growing up. I think there's a lot of people, this is sort of on that same independence topic that I've brought up before. A lot of people think that they're supposed to be independent in order to be successful, that they're not supposed to need help. In my manifesto for my business, for leaders being really all of us who are walking our path mindfully, I really emphasize receiving generously and giving generously. I think both are really important. So, and a lot of us have problems with both. It's hard to ask and it's hard to receive. Sometimes that's a paradox too, right? If I ask, then I'll have to receive. What am I going to do about that? So, I'm noticing in this moment, it's always interesting when I do these Facebook Lives because I'm not scripted. I sometimes have an idea of what I might talk about, but I'm also channeling. I'm also just receiving what's important for whoever's going to hear this. It's not just for my process. So when I think about asking, I notice I have tightness around the throat. And to me, for my sense of my body, and my body being my way of interpreting the world and getting data about what's happening, I notice that tightness, and that tightness around the throat usually means fear or constriction around speaking some kind of truth. So maybe I'll start there. One of the reasons I want to talk about it is I'm trying to figure out what sort of different asks to make in my business. I love the work I do, and I'm always trying to figure out how can I best give what I have to give and invite people to participate in it. I work with individual clients, and I also run my Power Embodied class. And I love both of those things, and they are ongoing. I have people I'm supporting. And still, I have another ask to make. I need to be receiving more. So, and there's nothing wrong with admitting that. I guess that's part of my invitation to you too, is to notice in your life how you're experiencing what you're asking for, and whether you're willing. I think that's it. Ooh, that's exciting. Part of why we have a hard time asking is because to ask is to admit that we have a need, and that feels vulnerable. Because if we're trained to be independent, we're not supposed to need anything, right? We're supposed to have it all figured out. We're supposed to be like, I'm good, I got all my stuff, I don't need anything, right? The problem with that is it's extremely disconnecting. Do you ever have the experience of wanting to support somebody you care about and seeing that they, maybe it's a friend who's organizing a party, right? Or it's a parent trying to get something done, or, thanks Matthew, or it's, I don't know, a partner who is struggling, and you're like, hey, how can I help? Because I don't know exactly what you need, and I can't read your mind. And they're like, no, I got it. Somebody who's carrying too many bags, and you're like, give me one of those, please. Let me help you. And they're like, no, I got it, right? And it's, I don't know if you had that experience. You probably have. It actually feels really disconnecting, right? We're here to love on and support each other. And when we don't let each other do it, then we're all these little automatons walking around separate from each other, and it feels very heartless. It feels very lonely. What I've learned over the years is I would so much rather be vulnerable and connected than have it all together and be isolated. That's the funny thing, is the more isolated we are, the more we make up stories about what people think about us and get all worked up about it, but we're not actually connecting. When we're actually connecting, that happens a lot less. So, yeah, I wonder what needs that you could be admitting to in your ask. I'll tell you about some asks I've made recently. Yeah. I'm thinking of one in particular. There are asks I haven't made in the past because I was worried of upsetting somebody. That's a big common one. Like, ooh, if I ask you for something that you are going to feel uncomfortable saying no to me about, then I don't want to put you in that position, and I don't want to struggle with you being mad at me for me making you say no to me. I hate that one. Done a lot of work on it over the years. It's much better than it used to be, but it still does happen. And there's a good friend and colleague of mine where I felt like it was the right time to make an ask for an exchange that I wanted to make between us. She has some things to teach me, and I felt like I had some things to offer her. And it didn't used to feel okay, and something shifted, I think, between her good work and my good work on ourselves. And so I made the ask, and it was vulnerable because I think I was okay admitting I had the need to her, but I wasn't sure if she was okay about me inquiring into her need. So I braved into it and did it anyway. It's part of my work, is to make things more safe and palatable for people to step into, like to step a little bit further into their vulnerability than they might have on their own. So I'm wondering, what needs have you not been giving voice to? What asks have you not been making because of that fear of appearing less put together. Wouldn't you rather be connected than be perfect? That's an interesting question. I know I would be. I would so much rather be connected than be perfect. Absolutely. But it can feel so challenging, right? I'm thinking of another ask. I have another friend where the ask I made of him was to give me some more physical affection, like foot rubs and hugs and cuddles, but not stepping any further than that, even though he might want to. And that could be a vulnerable way to ask, right? I'm going to ask for something that feels like a reach, and I'm not necessarily going to give back everything that I know you want. So I think that's a place where we're afraid to ask too. What if I ask for more than I feel is fair to you? I can tell you a story about that. Years ago, a really, really dear friend of mine and I had a falling out. And she was working through some of her stuff, but one of the things, as she decided to become more honest with me about things she'd been upset about, I noticed she was sort of having this argument out loud, back and forth with herself. Well, I want this, and I want you to do this differently, but I don't want to ask for this because I don't feel like that's being a good friend, and I don't think that's fair to you, to blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I hear you, sweetheart, and please stop having my half of that conversation. Please let me be the one to say what I am willing to do and what I am not willing to do. You aren't going to offend me by asking for what you need. One of my other friends points out that I am an unusual person in that I make that okay for people. But I think everyone can learn to do that. If we learn to ask for more of what we need, then we also are less resentful when other people ask for what they need. It's one of those, being honest and open with boundaries kind of things. I think codependence is when we're trying to read the other person's mind and never ask for more than they would not want to give, and assuming that they're going to read our mind. And so no one ever has to have these difficult conversations. It's not very effective. I was married to someone where that's what the game we were playing, and I'm an intuitive, so I'm relatively good at reading minds to an extent, but what happens when the way that I read your mind is in conflict with what I want, and then we can't have the opportunity to sort of rough out the negotiation? I'm always making the decision both for you and for me. It's not a good place to put myself in. You know how they say you should never negotiate against yourself? That's what happens when you don't have the conversation out loud. So I want to make an ask. I'm going to do a little live demonstration of this, and this is pushing my vulnerability. So, because I never want to ask you to step into more than I'm willing to step into. Those of you who enjoy my Facebook Live videos and my sharings from the path, I'm curious. I've been considering that I think a lot of people enjoy what I have to share, but probably aren't going to work with me one-on-one because it's a big time and energy and financial investment, and I don't expect everyone to. But my curiosity is, if you've been enjoying what I share, is there a way that you would want to give back to me that I haven't been making available to you? I feel like that sometimes about other people. I'm like, wow, I love this stuff, and I don't really... Actually, I know someone. There's someone I've bought an online class from her years ago, and it's wonderful, and I always want to refer it out to people, but she doesn't sell it anymore in the same way. And so I can't, there's like literally no way to give back to her for the way that it continues to give to me. And it kind of hurts. It kind of hurts my heart. And I suppose I could make a vulnerable ask and reach out and say, hey, I want to give to you in like less substantial ways than the options you offer, but I still want to give back. So I'm wondering if any of you ever feel like that about me. I've kind of been thinking about two different things. Just today I've had a couple brainstorms, and I just want to put them out there, and I really am asking for your feedback. So here's a place where I get vulnerable. Sometimes I don't ask for feedback too much because my fear is I'm not going to get any. And then I start to tell myself a story that you don't care. That's what happens. I start to think, well, people think that I was asking too much, or people think that I was being greedy, or people think, I don't know, people have X judgment about me. So I'll do my part of the work and not give in too much to that inner criticism. And I hope that you'll give me a reply and tell me what you think about this. I've thought about two different things. I've thought about setting up some kind of online tip jar so that if you ever felt inspired to give back, that you could at whatever level you want. And just today I've started thinking about having an online community with a smaller like monthly membership payment where I share live and I'm online in the group, and you maybe feel freer to ask questions. I mean, this could happen on Facebook already for free, but my experience is if people don't pay into something, they don't feel like they have the right to bug me. I mean, I ask for feedback all the time and for contributions, but I don't get it nearly as often as I think people might want to. People might have thoughts, I guess. So I'm wondering if I have an online membership community, if that would feel more, people would feel more permission, I guess. So I'm just curious about that. That's my ask is, I guess, A, have you wanted to contribute back to me in some way? And if so, would a digital tip jar suit you better, or would you be interested in something like a monthly membership site where we get to have these conversations about the path and process what's coming up for you, and maybe talk about themes, you know, that are going through the world, and I don't know, having a feeling of belonging. Would you let me know? And I really appreciate it. I'm probably going to do another Facebook Live later today, maybe, because I had another thought about something I wanted to share. I hope you're having a great day. I want to remind everybody in Seattle who keeps running into me and being like, I can't wait for summer, I hate this weather, blah. I'm experiencing sunny days at least every other day. So I don't know what's happening, if Ballard is just a beautiful space, or if I'm lucky that there's a patch of blue sky that follows me around, or if I'm just looking for it. Probably I'm looking for it pretty hard. So let me know, and yeah, I'm wishing you very, very well, and lots of sunshine and love and hugs and joy.